A young man receives a chilling phone call one Saturday evening from his brother saying that he has been shot and is headed to hospital. When the young man gets to Nakasero Hospital, he is received by a gentleman and a lady who said that they had brought his brother to hospital as good Samaritans after they witnessed a shooting along Ginger Road.
On reaching Nakasero, I was welcomed by a gentleman and a lady who were parked near where the ambulance were parking. So they asked me, "Are you Jordan?" I said, "No, I'm not Jordan." Then they said, "We've been calling Jordan. Who are you?" I said, "No, I'm a brother of the guy whom they told me they have just brought here in the hospital some few minutes ago." Then he said, "Yeah, this guy has been shot when we were seeing, and we managed to at least run with him here in the hospital to see if we can save his life."
Unfortunately, he did not make it, and by Sunday morning, his brother had given up the ghost. But one wonders, what really happened? Welcome back to Tavern Crime Chronicles. Here we explore strange, mysterious, chilling, solved and unsolved cases in Uganda, Africa, and beyond. If you have the nerve for fascinating stories, this is your channel. We all get angry every now and then, however, some more than others. When the Bible tells us to be slow to anger and quick to forgive, our Maker sure gave us the manual to live peacefully. And consequences happen when we do otherwise, as we shall see in today's case when a young man is shot dead without a thought in fits of anger. Today's story takes us to Lugogo, an area in the city center along Kampala-Jinja Highway, strategically located for a stopover to chill out with friends just after work, shopping for family as one heads home, and even just convenient car packing as one goes about their errands in Lugogo Mall that houses quite a number of businesses. One Saturday evening, the parking drive would witness a shooting, so quick they couldn't make out what had happened as the perpetrators carried the bleeding man into their car and headed to an unknown location. This is the story of Mathew Kanyamunyu. Born in 1982 into royalty to a member in the Ankole Kingdom, Mathew is the second last born in a family of 5 male siblings. Being a middle child, Mathew had to work extra hard to be noticed and make his bearing in life. Mathew went to King's College Budo for ordinary level and thereafter to Intare School, Marara for his A-levels. Instead of the usual university degree, Mathew took a shortcut by doing a course in Akena certifying him as an accountant in 2001. Specializing in logistics management. This earned him an executive-level position with Ballor Africa Logistics, DHL Global Forwarding, and DHL International. After shooting the stars, Mathew knew he needed to reach the moon, and he founded his company, Quantum Express Logistics, and thereafter co-founded ukosokoni.com, a hub for online shoppers. There's so much to his name, but I will not bore you with all the details. Unfortunately, he kept a private life, and not much is known about his family other than the fact that this successful businessman has 4 children, although their mother is no longer in the picture. One Saturday evening around 7:30 p.m. on 12 November 2016, the clouds turned gray, and one incident put his name, Kanyamunyu, on every Ugandan's lips. After having a late lunch at the Epicurean restaurant in Kololo with his girlfriend Cynthia Munwangari, a Burundian fashion designer, fashionista, and businesswoman, the two drove to Lugogo so as to pick up a few items from ShopRite before finally heading home to Luzira. While the two lovebirds sat chilling in the car after parking in the Lugogo parking drive, a salon car parked next to them reversed hastily and unfortunately brushed their SUV, slightly putting a few scratches. Feeling very remorseful, the occupant in the navy blue Premio walked to the SUV hoping to apologize and probably agree on an amount to pay for the damages. Mathew was now already outside his car analyzing the damage and ready for a scuffle. When the young man approached him, he started with an apology, and Mathew could hear none of it. Anger was glaring, and within a blink of an eye, he pulled out his pistol and shot the young man in the stomach at close range. You see, power corrupts the mind, and anger is but for an instant, then regret comes later and could last a lifetime. And indeed, Mathew immediately regretted his actions after seeing the young man now down on his knees in pain as he held his belly that was quickly losing blood. Together with his girlfriend Cynthia, they carried him into the back of their car and drove him to Nakasero Hospital. While Cynthia drove the car at full speed in hope of saving the young man's life, Mathew asked for his name as he checked his wallet and also got the phone number of a close contact. And his brother was told of the unfortunate accident. The young 33-year-old man happened to be Kenneth Akena Watman, a child rights activist working with Akena, an NGO in Kasese, and had previously worked in his hometown in Pater district as a community development officer. He was on a work mission in Kampala when the regrettable incident occurred. Kenneth had spoken to his cousin brother earlier while in Kirika and was hoping to meet up with him at Kiodondo Rugby Grounds for refreshments, but that would never happen. While at Nakasero, Mathew called Akena's elder brother Jordan Yehang, who was not in Kampala at the time. Jordan called Nyeko, their cousin brother, who rushed to the hospital immediately and was met by a gentleman with a lady, who were parked near an ambulance in the Nakasero hospital parking drive. They told him that they were good Samaritans who had brought Akena to the hospital after he was shot by unknown assailants along Ginger Road. Nyeko would in a few hours later discover that the same people that had welcomed him were the real killers of his brother Kenneth, after he said the same in his dying declaration in the presence of 5 doctors and his brother, Nyeko himself. Unfortunately, Kenneth died of hemorrhage in the wee hours of the morning after he lost over 20% of his blood caused by the gunshot wound to his stomach. Mathew Kanyamunyu was so quick to do damage control and immediately called his brother in the Special Forces, Joseph Kanyamunyu, to come to his rescue immediately. Right there in Nakasero parking drive, Joseph helped them come up with a believable story and took care of the firearm so that no evidence could be traced back to them. Sunday morning, that 13th November was not like any other. A young man had lost his life after just a simple accident of a scratch on the car and shot in cold blood. Social media is always so fast at spreading news, especially the bad ones, and obviously this story became a top trending topic. Netizens were so fast at digging deep on how Mathew Kanyamunyu was well connected to the First family, and thus might evade justice. A cry out for justice for Akena was everywhere, and Mathew was arrested together with his girlfriend Cynthia. While in court, Mathew and Cynthia both pleaded not guilty, claiming that while on their way from Epicurean restaurant heading home to Luzira, they parked alongside Ginger Road after realizing that they were probably being followed. His girlfriend Cynthia was for some time being targeted by assassins after her auntie, who was a member of parliament in the East African Assembly, was killed, and her brother survived after being shot 9 times by unknown gunmen. According to Mathew's testimony, the suspicious car parked ahead of them, and they saw 2 men walk towards their car and tried to force the passenger door open. Sensing danger, Mathew stepped out of the car and a scuffle ensued. Suddenly, he heard a man cry out that he had been hit. The 2 men, seeing a crowd start to form, ran off, and Mathew was left with the dying man. First, they contemplated on whether to quickly drive back to Ginger Road Police Station to report the incident or save the dying man. They decided to take Akena to hospital, and that was how they had come in contact with the deceased, Kenneth Akena. Despite their pleas, the court refuted their testimony, and Mathew was sent to Luzira Maximum Prison on remand as investigations continued. Gun residue was discovered on Mathew's clothes, a confirmation that he fired the gun. Also, his brother Joseph Kanyamunyu was arrested for tampering with evidence as he was seen receiving a gun from Mathew and driving off to an unknown location. Meanwhile, there was a conflict between the court and the Acholi elders, who demanded blood for blood, as their culture believes in settling disputes traditionally, especially when a son of the soil is killed. They demanded that Mathew must perform the Mato Oput ceremony. Mato Oput is a traditional Acholi ritual ceremony that serves as a process of reconciliation and justice, primarily used to restore relationships between clans after a murder or violent act, where the perpetrator admits guilt, seeks forgiveness, and pays compensation to the victim's family, often symbolized by drinking a bitter root to signify the bitterness of the conflict and the act of letting go of. Resentment, essentially. It means to drink the bitter herb in the Acholi language. The elders' concerns were incorporated into the law, and while Mathew was out on bail after serving 11 months in jail, he went to Acholi for the Mato Oput traditional ritual, where he admitted and apologized on his knees for taking their son's life. Mathew was asked to pay 10 cows and 3 goats by the elders, and according to their culture, the matter was settled. Back in Kampala, the courts were perplexed as this was a conflict of tradition and the laws of the land. Mathew's confession to the elders served as a nail in the coffin to convict him of murder, but his lawyers pleaded that it should be changed to manslaughter. Mathew Kanyamunyu finally pleaded guilty to manslaughter, and he was served with a very light sentence of 6 years, of which he did not complete as he was released shortly after. His girlfriend Cynthia had earlier been arrested alongside Mathew for being an accessory to murder, but was later released and acquitted of all charges. His brother Joseph Kanyamunyu's case of tampering with evidence is however still in court, but one wonders to what end. Anyway, according to the Acholi, a price was paid, and to them, that is justice enough. Tell us, what do you think about today's case? Are you shocked as I am at how someone can love their property so much as to quickly shoot at a human being for a small accident as a scratch on the car? Well, people are different, some calm, joyous, and friendly, but others rather arrogant and so quick to anger. Unfortunately, we meet all in our daily walks of life. It is life after all. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the way we covered this case, like, subscribe, and even share it with your friends and family, and we will see you at the next one.